I'm John Schrott, and this is On the Spot with IKM. This morning, we're going to be talking with one of our associates, Christine Lyons, and I've been looking forward to this conversation, Christine, because we're going to talk about the exam room. An exam room is something everybody has experienced. Normally, it's an 8 by 10 box. How do we make an exam room special?
Well, I think an exam room is a lot more than an 8 by 10 box. That's what we start with.
Okay.
And then we have to think about a lot of things. The first thing I think would be patient comfort and patient experience. For example, the biggest question in an exam room, where does the bed or the table go? There's very specific places for different modalities. Children, we like to keep it up against the wall so the children don't fall off either way and the provider can come and interact with the child. With women's health, you want to keep the table faced so that they're in a good position relative to the door, if you can imagine.
Privacy issues.
Privacy issues, sure. And then also where the guest chairs are in relation to that, because oftentimes you're bringing family members or support people with you, and you want to be able to also interact with the family members as well as the patient.
I know that the issue of where the physician is in relation to the patient is important too, because we try and make them equals, right, in the room. And so how do you position where the physician or the physician assistant is going to be?
Well, depending on where the table goes in the room, we also have to think about the workstation, the computer, and how the physician enters the room from the very beginning to the very last interaction. So generally, the patient will be in the room, then the physician comes in, so we like to keep the physician's workspace closer to the door, and then they would interact with the patient, do their examination, maybe do some charting off to the side. There's a screen usually involved in that. Sometimes they'd like to show the patient or the family member something on the screen. So it's important to have maybe a positionable screen that they can swing around and talk to the patient about what's going on in their bodies.
And is there the use of finishes or anything to try and make the patient feel more comfortable? Because sometimes you feel pretty vulnerable when you're in that exam.
That's true. The finishes are tailored to who the patient is going to be. For example, children, usually bright and colorful and cheerful. Women's health, another example, calm, sort of mature, and then everything in between. Sometimes we've used finishes on the floor and the walls, even in accent paint, to sort of differentiate the patient side of the room versus the provider side of the room.
If there was one thing you wanted to leave us with about designing exam rooms, what would that be?
Well, I think that, again, the patient is always first, making the patient feel comfortable, and then also making sure that the providers have everything that they need to service the patient. That's the utmost. That's the utmost goal. Okay. I have one more thing I'd like to tell you about exam rooms.
Go ahead.
A lot of times it is. All the time it's very important that you have acoustical privacy. So building that room that you and your provider can have a conversation in that's private and without the rest of the world. So we do pay special attention to the acoustics of the walls, the doors, the door seals, just to make sure that your experience in that patient, in that exam room is yours alone.
Really good point, because I know I've been in an exam room and I can hear somebody in the other room.
Right.
And that's not good for either party. So.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. I know you have a lot more to share, but thanks for being on the spot. Until next time.